truck's tires hold onto the pavement. I'm at that point where you're supposed to look back. You charge forward in your 20s, you strategize in your 30s, but somewhere in your 40s, you're supposed to look back. To develop a taste for nostalgia that you didn't have before, as you realize that you're going to have plenty of occasions to stare into the past, whether you want to or not. Time has a way of forcing that. Sometimes looking back is sweet, and sometimes it's bitter. But in my experience, it is almost always involuntary. The past calls you, not the other way around. I can hear it knocking now. Can feel it beside me on the porch on this unseasonably warm spring evening, with that glorious humidity that clings even into darkness, like summer is sealing winter out and taping the seams. We're bound now for the sun and the heat, the swelter of dog days, and then the first crisp night when a cool wind rustles brittle leaves and reminds you that it was all a circle, dummy, and there's only one way off this ride, so stop wishing that time would pass faster. All of this brings my mind back to 1999, as did that conversation with the geologist. He told me there are 20,000 earthquakes around the globe each year, or 55 each day. Think about how common that is, how natural. It got me to thinking about an old crypt, and what lies beneath, and what had better stay buried. What must stay buried, if what I've heard is the truth, and I'm confident that it is. Dead men tell no tales, they say, and they are wrong. Dead men tell plenty of tales, but they do not tell lies. Chapter 1. Driver's Education. February 1999. I said, "What you want to be?" She said, "Alive." Outcast. The Art of Storytelling. Part 1. 1. I got my driver's license on February 11th, 1999. This would be easy to remember even if I didn't have the speeding ticket with the date on it. But I do. My mother drove me to the BMV that afternoon, which was a Thursday, and she talked about the weather the entire way there. It wasn't idle small talk. She was a meteorologist, and that day was closing in on a February heat record in Bloomington, Indiana. We'd had snow only a few days earlier, but we drove to the BMV with the windows down, welcoming the 70-degree air like a gift, which is the way those days feel in a Midwestern winter, a jump start for your draining battery. My personal battery was running high already. This day had been a long time in coming. If you didn't take the formal driver's education course, you needed to wait 6 additional months to apply for a driver's license. This was the state's way of bribing teenagers to take driver's ed, and my mother's way of buying time before releasing me to the world in a 2,000-pound killing machine. Finally, the wait was over. I wasn't worried about the written portion of the test, and while I expressed high confidence about the driving portion, let's all admit that our heart rates picked up at the phrase parallel parking when we were 16. I took the driving portion first and passed without trouble, even nailed the parallel parking, no small feat in the Oldsmobile 98 my mother had given me, which was the length of a hearse. On to the written test. 25 questions, multiple choice, fill in the answer bubble on a separate Scantron sheet with a number 2 pencil. I cruised through 23 before a male voice boomed out, "It's Miller time!" I heard my mother's laugh in response. Melodic, practiced, unsurprised. When you're Monica Miller, the meteorologist, you can't go long before some dimwit producer decides to affix a famous beer slogan to your segments. People often recognized her, and they loved to indicate it by shouting out, "It's Miller time!" When you're 16, and this is the way the community responds to your mother's presence, it's not a great deal of fun. Particularly when your mother is beautiful, and it's mostly men shouting at her. I didn't bother to turn around at the exchange, so I never saw the cheerful citizen who recognized my mother, only heard him, and then my mother's on-cue laugh. But the distraction was enough that when I filled in my test circle, I missed the 24th line entirely and filled in the 25th blank.